Oh, there's more. Oxytocin. This is the best chemical of all. Oxytocin is the feeling of love and trust and friendship. It's all the warm and fuzzies. It's all the unicorns and rainbows. It's the reason we like to spend time with our friends even if we don't do anything with them. We just sit and watch TV. We love their company. I promise you, nearly every single person sitting in this room today chose the person they're sitting next to. You're not sitting next to a stranger. You're sitting next to somebody you met, came with, or kind of know a little bit. Why? Because it makes you feel safer, doesn't it? If you got up and went and sat next to strangers, it wouldn't feel so good. That's the feeling of oxytocin. Oxytocin is that intense feeling of safety that someone's got your back. There are multiple ways you can get oxytocin. One way to get it is physical contact. Hugging feels wonderful, right? When women give birth to children, huge surge of oxytocin in their body. This is what's responsible for the mother-parent, the mother-child bond, right? It's all that oxytocin in the system. This is why shaking hands matters. Imagine you're doing a deal with someone and you're ready to sign the contract and you say, "I'm so excited to do business with you." And they go, "I don't need to shake, let's sign the contract, I'm also excited to do business with you." And you go, "Great, well let's shake on it then." They go, No, I agree to all the terms, let's get this deal done, I can't wait to work with you. You might get everything you want in the contract, but business, relationships are not rational. They're about feeling safe, they're about feeling we belong, it's human. And one of the ways we want to know that that relationship is solidified is with physical touch. Their simple refusal to touch you, to exchange that oxytocin, means one of two things will happen. You will either completely scuttle the deal or you will go into it nervous. Human bonds matter. Another way you can get oxytocin is through acts of human generosity. An act of human generosity is defined as giving of your time and energy and expecting nothing in return. Money doesn't work, sorry. If I told you that this morning I gave $1,000 to charity, what would you think of me? You'd be like, good for you. What, do you want a medal? But if I told you that last Saturday I gave up my day and I went and painted schools in the inner city, then what would you think? You'd be like, nice, cool, I should do more, right? The value of my labor, much less than $1,000, could have hired many more people for $1,000 to go paint schools in the inner city. But you see, as human beings, we put a premium on time because it is an equal commodity and it is a non-redeemable commodity. You spend money, you make money. You spend time, you'll never get it back. Some of you are sitting in this room right now saying, I will never get this time back. I got nothing for you. So we put a premium on people who give us their time and energy. A leader who says to you, I'll pay for something for you, is not a leader. A leader who comes and sits down next to you and says, how can I help you, is a leader. I was talking to some oil executives, and they were trying to convince me that they really care about how fulfilled and how happy their employees are at work, to which I said, no, you don't. And they said, no, we do. And I said, no, you don't. And they said, yeah, we do. You see how this went. And I said, I bet you hired some high-priced consultancy to come and do a web survey about whether people like their jobs or not. And they said, well, we didn't hire a consultancy. I said, okay, so it's kind of like sending your son an email, right? Dear son, your mother and I care that you feel like a valuable part of this family. Please tell us candidly what we can do better so that you feel like you belong here because we really love you. Love, Dad. Or you go into his room, you sit on his bed, and you say, hey, son, your mom and I really care that you feel like a valuable member of this family. Please tell us candidly what we can do better because we want you to feel like you belong and we really love you. Same words, same intention, same desire. The difference is one you gave time and energy and the other one you didn't. This is the problem with email. It's too easy. It's too easy. There's no time and energy expended. It's too easy. Don't feel anything. If I come to your house for dinner and you make me a lovely dinner, the next day I send you a very nice thank you email, what a wonderful host you are. Or 3 days later, you receive a handwritten note from me with the exact same words that were written in the email. Which one makes you feel better? Handwritten note. The sentiment was the same, the words were the same. The difference is one took a little more time and a little more energy. Leaders are the ones who give us their time and give us their energy. not the ones who give us their money. It doesn't count. It doesn't work. Just biologically doesn't work. This is how you get oxytocin. Doing nice things for people that require that you sacrifice a little bit of time, a little bit of energy, something you will never get back. And if you expect something in return, then you weren't really giving in the first place. You take someone out for dinner because you want them to hire you, you're not really taking them out for dinner. You want something in return. It's just a protracted transaction. It's not relationship building. It's nonsense. I was walking down the streets of New York, true story, and the guy in front of me, his backpack opened and a bunch of paper spilled out on the street. Didn't think much of it. I bent down, gathered the papers up, handed them back to him, and pointed out that his bag had opened. I did a small act of generosity for somebody. I got a small burst of oxytocin. I felt good. Also, the person on the receiving end of the act of generosity feels good. They get a shot of oxytocin. He felt good. He says thanks. I get to the end of the block, and I'm standing waiting to cross the street. And a guy who also happens to be standing waiting to cross the street turns around, true story, turns around and says to me, "I saw what you did back there. That was really cool." As it turns out, witnessing acts of human generosity release oxytocin. Remember, our bodies are trying to get us to repeat behaviors that are in our best interest, and it's making us feel good when we see or do acts of human generosity so that we will do them. In fact, the more oxytocin you have in your body, the more generous you actually become. In other words, the more you do, the more you want to do. It gets better than that. Lots of oxytocin in your body inhibits addiction. It makes it very difficult to get addicted to something when you have lots of oxytocin in your body. It actually inhibits addiction. It boosts your immune system. It makes you healthier. That's why happy people live longer. It's why couples live longer. Oxytocin, it actually is good for us. It increases our ability to solve problems. It increases our creativity. It's really good for us, and it's not addictive. It just feels great. It takes time to build up, though. You know, if I went on a date with a girl the other day. It was a first date. We totally got along great. We're going to get married. Why are you laughing? That's my social life. The reason you laugh is because you inherently know that I cannot form a bond of trust strong enough to get married in 7 days. You know that. Why don't you go on a couple more dates? Right? Inherently, you know that. Right? But if I told you that I've been dating somebody for 7 years and we're not married yet, what do you say? What's wrong? In other words, we know that that bond of trust takes more than 7 days and less than 7 years. Don't know how long it takes, though. So when you start a new job and you're really excited to work there and they're really excited to have you, don't quite feel like you belong. You don't quite feel like you're trusted yet, right? Even though you were really excited and they're really excited. It takes time. And you have to do little acts of generosity and make little sacrifices, do little things for people. Not big risks, small risks. It's like dating. You know, you don't start by buying them a diamond. You start by taking them for lunch, buying them a drink, you know? Little bits. Then they take you out, or you take them out again. You do something a little bigger. Then you do that in a movie. Then they come over, and then you buy them flowers, and then you say, "I love you." And one day you wake up in the morning. It's like you press this belief button. I'm in love. I don't know when it happened. It just clicks, and you feel like you belong. Same thing at work. Same thing at work. It just clicks, and you feel like you belong because you got enough oxytocin built up in your system. We don't allow this to happen. We're too busy sending emails. We're too busy sending emails. The next time you want to tell somebody something, email is fantastic for the exchange of information, right? It's fantastic. Here's the report you wanted. The meeting's at 4 o'clock. Fantastic. What did you think of my idea? Do not reply on an email. That's an emotional question. Email is a rational tool. You get up from your desk. You walk the 30 feet. And you say, "Wanted to tell you what I thought of your idea." And I promise you, not only will that information be better received, but you will start to create relationship because oxytocin starts to get released. If you can't get up and walk 30 feet, pick up the telephone. I've done it. It's an amazing thing. You pick up the phone and you go, "Hey." They're like, "Hey, what's the matter?" They're like, "No, I'm just replying to your email. Wanted to tell you what I thought." What? And people who tell me, "But I need a paper trail." Have the conversation, hang up and say, "Just to confirm what we talked about," boom, there's your paper trail. The reason we get so many emails is because we reply to them all. And 12 emails are sent, and then somebody misunderstands something, and somebody gets angry, and then you have to pick up the phone and deal with it anyway. Do it at the beginning. Quicker, easier, better. Biology. Give your time and give your energy. And this is why leadership is really difficult, because you can't give it to everyone because you don't have enough to give to everyone. You just can't. You have to make sure that you can trust others to trust others to trust others to trust others. And this is what happens in this circle of belonging, in this circle of safety. This is what effective bureaucracy is, which is, as the CEO, as the leader, or whatever your job is, you have one responsibility and one responsibility only, which is to make sure the people you know that you have physical contact with, you know their names, are confident and feel looked after, and encourage them to do the same for the ones who work beneath them, who work beneath them, who work beneath them. And when this group of people really feel safe, then they will invite in the customer to also feel safe. They will talk to these people as if they are human. I actually flew on an airline recently, and I was appalled at how I was treated. It was disgusting. It was like cattle, right? And I said something. I said, "Why do you treat people like cattle?" And she literally said to me, "I'm sorry, sir, I have to do it or I'll lose my job." What did she tell me? My organization that I work for doesn't make me feel safe. I don't feel like I belong. So I'm going to treat you like dirt to protect myself. As opposed to somebody who feels safe and says, "Sir, I will do everything in my power to make sure that you feel happy and good because I'm not worried." That's called a highly effective organization. There's one more chemical I haven't told you about. The big C. Cortisol. Cortisol is the feeling of stress and the feeling of anxiety. We share these chemicals with all the social mammals. And so when you see a herd of gazelle, you've all seen the documentary on Discovery or whatever, right? You see a herd of gazelle grazing, and one of them thinks they hear a rustle in the grass, and they go, head, right? That's what cortisol does. Cortisol is designed to keep us alive. It is the first stage of fight or flight. It makes us paranoid. It makes all of our senses hyper-attuned to look for danger. It injects glucose into our muscles to make us stiff and ready to go in case we need to fight or flight. It increases our heart rate like crazy, right? And it makes us start looking. It makes us paranoid to find the danger. And the cool thing about cortisol when you work in a social environment is if other people sense that you're nervous, they get nervous. So all the other gazelle go, they didn't hear anything. They just saw Steve over there get really freaked out. And so they got all freaked out. And now they all start looking for the danger. Good system. And one of them, who didn't even hear the initial rustle in the grass, sees the lion, runs, they all run, they all live another day. Good system. So that when we go to work and somebody says, "I think there's going to be layoffs," all of us are like, "What do you mean? Wait, we're all paranoid now. We're all freaked. I shouldn't have talked in that meeting." We start to get crazy. We start to get paranoid. Our hearts start to race. That's what cortisol does. It's trying to keep us alive. You wake up in the middle of the night, you hear a bump in the middle of the night. What's the first thing you do? You wake the person next to you. And then what do? They go, And if there's nothing there, you go and trust your eyes, right? You go looking for it. We're visual animals, right? If there's nothing there, you go like this. Cortisol leaves our body, and we relax, and our heart rate goes back down. Cortisol, to get all of that extra energy, to make us paranoid, to make us self-interested, it needs to shut down non-essential systems because it has to get it from somewhere, right? So it shuts off things like growth. You don't need your fingernails to grow at that moment. It shuts it off. The other thing it shuts off is our immune system. Don't need it in that moment. The problem is you're not supposed to have cortisol in your system all the time. You're supposed to have it in and then gone. And when we go to work in a place that doesn't make us feel like we belong, that doesn't make us feel safe when we're at work, guess what? We got little bits of cortisol dripping in our body. Drip, 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 drip. Makes us paranoid. Drip. I know my boss hates me. I know he hates me. He hates all my ideas. I know it. Drip, drip. It makes us self-interested. One of the things cortisol does, it inhibits the release of oxytocin. Biologically, if you work in a high-stress environment where you don't feel safe, you are biologically less empathetic and less generous. We don't care about each other because we're too busy trying to protect ourselves. Drip, drip, drip. Our immune systems are now compromised. Drip, drip, drip. We live in a country with some of the best medical education in the world, some of the best medical systems in the world, some of the best doctors in the world, some of the best hospitals in the world, some of the best medicines in the world. Please explain to me why diabetes is on the rise, heart disease is on the rise, some cancers are on the rise. It ain't partially hydrogenated oils. Our jobs are killing us. And the people who are responsible are the leaders. And we also know that parents who come home stressed out, their kids learn that this is what work is. That work is something that makes you short-tempered and unhappy. And so they expect it as they grow older. Worse, we know that parents who come home upset and angry, it has such a negative impact on their children that there's some studies that show that they might actually become bullies because of their unhappy parents who hate their jobs and have excessive amounts of stress. Our companies are literally killing us. So what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Leadership is not a rank. Leadership is not a position. Leadership is a decision. Leadership is a choice. It has nothing to do with your position in the organization. If you decide to look after the person to the left of you and look after the person to the right of you, you have become a leader. You've seen the movie 300, right? The Spartans, the greatest fighting force of all time. You want to know one of the things that made the Spartans great? Wasn't their muscles, wasn't their spears. It was their shields. They stood shield to shield, and the phalanx was strong because those shields were big. And they were told when they were young children, you either bring your shield home or you come home on your shield. The punishment for losing your shield was tremendous in battle. Because if you lost your shield, that means you cannot protect the person to the left of you and the person to the right of you, and you have destroyed the phalanx. It's the shield that matters, not the spear. Not the spear. It's your willingness to sacrifice yourself, not your life, maybe your credit, maybe your little time, maybe a little energy, maybe your time, maybe getting up from your desk and talking to somebody for 30 minutes instead of sending a 3-minute email. It's your willingness to sacrifice for someone, to hold that shield up so that they feel safe, that makes you a leader. And you want to know how you beat a dopamine addiction? If you're worried that you're addicted to performance and all those dopamine things, Alcoholics Anonymous has been highly effective for decades, 80-something years. We all know the first step of the 12 steps. We joke about it, right? Admit you have a problem. Do you know the 12th step? Don't say it's supposed to be anonymous. I'll tell you what the 12th step is. Alcoholics Anonymous knows that if you master all 11 steps, but not the 12th, you will drink again. If you master the 12th step, you will beat the disease. What's the 12th step? The 12th step is the commitment to help another alcoholic. Service. Service to another. Oxytocin wins. Serotonin wins. The more we look after each other, the safer we feel, the more we feel like we belong, and the more we will work together to confront the dangers outside. Do this for others, and others will become Johnny Bravo. Thanks very much.